This podcast is part of Mishmash Media. Hello, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. Welcome to another episode of Curbcast. My name is Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And every week, the two of us, we get episodes of Curb Your Enthusiasm and we talk about every scene and we review them scene by scene and in chronological order. And this week, Stephen, we are at the tail end of Season 5. We're going to do Episode 7, The Cedar, an episode that I quite enjoyed.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it so much the first time. I felt a bit similar to last week where I thought it was just okay, but upon second watch, I really enjoyed it a lot more. So I'm looking forward to reviewing it at the end and seeing what you really liked about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, there's lots of a bit of taboo subject as well with the with Rick, the sex offender, hanging out near the children and stuff. That was a little bit cringe, but and also I loved how he's almost like grooming Larry with his golf stuff.
Yeah,
it's like Larry was going to become like a victim.
Yeah, I think
so wrong.
Yeah, I mean he's so charming and friendly. You can't help but sort of be pulled into his orbit, you know, if he wants his. But he's not manipulative. He's just really friendly, and I guess that's how they don't really detail what he did. Or who he did it to become a registered sex offender. But yeah, you can see that he's got the charm needed to do that stuff.
He does, yes. But yes, he's back out in the community.
He is. If you want to get in touch with us, you can. We have an email address, curbcastpod@gmail.com. We're on all forms of social media as well. Our handle is curbcastpod. If you want to support us, you can. We have a Patreon account. If you go to patreon.com/mishmash media for as little as $1 a month, you can support us in our fledgling podcast network, Mishmash Media. And if you want to support us, but you want to do that non-financially, you can do so by rating or reviewing us on your podcast app of choice or just spreading the word.
That's right. If you spread the word, and it'll be great. So hopefully not negative stuff like Rick the sex offender, that kind of bad word, but any good words would be fantastic.
Yeah, don't put our photos on a flyer and distribute us around your local neighborhood as registered sex offenders. I mean, if you do, that would kind of be funny. As long as it's not a neighborhood that we reside close to. If it's in like another country, it's like, that's fine. That's not going to affect our lives.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. If it's
all fine.
Yeah, if it's in like Chicago or I don't know, Rome, it's like, yeah, go for it. Just not in Australia.
Just not in Australia where we are. That's right. And if you clutch your children as we walk past, don't worry, we're fine.
Yeah,
it's all good.
I don't think we'll ever be recognised on the street, so it's totally okay.
And that's fine with me. That's perfectly fine.
Indeed.
Anyway, Season 5, Episode 7, The Cedar. In this one, this was aired in the US on HBO on November 13th, 2005. A sex offender, played by Rob Corddry, moves into the neighbourhood and becomes friends with Larry. Larry also suspects that Dr. Mark is stealing his newspaper after his neighbour Ethel claims that she saw him take it. Tension mounts when all these people are guests at Larry's Passover Cedar. So here we go, Stevie. Scene 1. Larry is walking out of his driveway and notices his neighbours across the road taking the stuff out of the car. They are Ethel and Mac. Larry reluctantly asks if they need some help and they accept. He offers to take the rest of the groceries and walks to the front curb to drop the bags. The lady asks Larry if he has heard about the sex offender that moved in nearby recently, and he says that he read about it on a flyer. He mentions that the man is a bald guy and he's bad for the bald community. So Rick already, despite being a registered sex offender, that's not the only bad feather in his cap. Larry thinks that he demonizes the bald community just for being bald.
Yeah, Larry always, he feels the pain on behalf of the entire bald community. So when something is bringing them down, it's a sore point for him. He takes...
It's like an affront.
Yeah, it is. It's something he takes very seriously. Anything that's shining a negative light on the bald community is something he takes very, very seriously. And he's never one not to bring it up. It's always a point he has to make.
We haven't seen future episodes of Curb yet. This is all like the first time we're watching them. But maybe there will be an episode where he's part of like a bald, awareness group or a protest community or something. We'll find that out.
Yeah, I can imagine a bunch of bald guys, marching down the street, chanting for bald rights. I don't know what those rights would be, but Larry would think of something to protest about for sure.
He'd find something.
Yeah.
Larry asks if he's been getting their newspaper if they've been getting their newspaper, the neighbours, and they say yes. The lady says that someone the other day got Larry's paper and the man was wearing a suit, which confuses Larry as he heads to their front door to help with their groceries. Ethel and Max say if they see the man in the suit, then they'll recognise who it is, as Ethel is very good with faces, Max says. Larry and Jeff walk out of a restaurant as he tells Jeff the man in the suit story, which bewilders him. Larry asks if Jeff is coming to Cheryl's Seder, and he says that he is coming, and he asks if he can take his sister and brother-in-law and his kids who happen to be in town. He reveals that the brother-in-law is a conservative, and in Jeff's words, a big-time conservative, and he walks off. So we find out how conservative the guy actually is. He wears like the cap and everything. We see him later on. Jacob, his name is. And he's apparently a conservative. That's interesting.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the crossover between the Jewish community and the spectrum of politics within that community. But yeah, conservative and a Jewish person is not something you hear. It's not a common crossover, I guess, in media or movies or TV shows. It's usually, they're in some ways there's a bit of a rivalry there, maybe, without getting too much into that. It just doesn't seem like there's not much of a Venn diagram there normally between, Jewish people and conservatives in America. They seem to be very like distinct communities.
Yeah, he's certainly an outlier.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, especially in popular, in media. I mean, in popular culture.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's many Jewish people who are conservatives, like we mentioned. But it's just very funny.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even a case of he's like Jeff doesn't say he's a conservative person, but that I read it or I interpreted it as like capital C conservative. Like a member of
yes,
like
no, that's what he means. Yeah, Republican voter. Yeah,
not just a conservative minded person, but
no,
an official
conservative with a big C. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so that was a bit interesting, and I think it's important to note that Larry has had a colourful history with conservatives and Republicans on the show.
He has, especially in recent seasons with his mega cap, not for the reasons that you may think.
Yeah,
actually, for a very good way to repel people from it.
Yeah, and also in the carpool lane, and I can't remember the episode title, but where he tries to join the Republican,
the golf club, the club after they get kicked out.
Yeah, exactly, like the social club. Yeah,
and then and then he's trying to get with Katie in
last
season's finale, and she has a picture of George W. Bush on her stand. So
and he completely he loses his chance to have sex for free, basically, or guilt free.
Guilt free, because it's all part of the anniversary gift, which it's ambiguous. Like I think, well, not to get too much into it, but I assume that he was going to get it after the theater, but you reckon he never got it, so it's open ended. Yeah, but anyway, that's
sure.
Conversation for another day.
Yeah,
you can go back and watch opening night, or you can go back and listen to our episode.
Yeah. Totally, yeah. But I think it's fair to say that Larry's got not a very successful past with conservatives and Republicans. They seem to be just oil and water.
Oh, yeah, they just don't go together. No. One's on top of the other.
Exactly.
Larry goes to get a newspaper from the machine, the coin machine, and the door is stuck and he's unable to get it. The sex offender walks up to him. His name is Rick. He walks up to offer him help as he opens the door for Larry. Larry thanks him as Rick asks if he is Larry David, and he says that he is a huge Seinfeld fan, and he says in his words, probably the biggest fan of all time. And he says his favorite episode is the puffy shirt, which Larry says is his favorite, as they talk about how Larry came up with ideas for the episode, including the low talker. They seem to be getting along very well as Rick introduces himself, like his name. So we find out his name later on. So yeah, puffy shirt. That's actually an episode that was featured in season 4 as well, when Larry was watching it, and they had the friend that would call after every episode. So puffy shirt has quite a place in the Curb universe.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it is considered a classic amongst Seinfeld fans and the show itself. So it makes sense that it comes up often on Curb. It's usually one of the episodes that you would see in a list of top 10 or 20 best Seinfeld episodes. The puffy shirt often makes it in those lists.
I think it was when we did Bidwell Bask, our old Seinfeld podcast. I think it was like in my top 5.
I don't think it was in my top 5 or 10, but I remember it ranking very highly for you.
Yeah. No, it was really, really good. Really, really good episode. And we see Rick. I mean, he seems like a normal guy, but he's almost like probably a reformed sex offender, but that past still lingers with him.
Yeah, and I mean, you can be a nice, friendly person with a dark, or unsavory part of your personality, and he just seems very friendly and very nice. But obviously, he's made some mistakes or has some compulsions that he can't keep control of or hasn't been able to. It's not really indicated whether it's something he still struggles with or if it's just something he did in the past once. It's kind of vague, which I think is a good thing if they keep it vague, because it's like, you don't want to get too specific about sex crimes. It's a bit even for Curb, that's a bit dark,
Yeah, they wouldn't go that far.
No. I think just making him a registered sex offender, and that fact alone makes everyone else uncomfortable, is far enough. It's taboo enough to get a lot of comedy out of. But if they were actually specific about what he did, or what type of person he did it to, it would just be a bit too, even for Curb, which can go down to some, pretty dark. It can get into some pretty dark places. But if they were specific, it would just be like cringy and it would just take away from the episode.
Yeah, and I think as well, like if we found out that his crime was like extremely sinister, as in like say involving kids or something, I think it would leave a bad taste in viewers' mouths if Larry befriended him. I think that would be like, it'd almost go into like black comedy, dark comedy kind of territory.
Yeah.
Like Curb isn't really like it's got some dark comedy in it, but it's not like really black, like dark humor. I think that would really go too macabre.
Yeah, totally. It just wouldn't sit well with, I think, just the show as it is, and just fans as well. It wouldn't feel right.
It wouldn't feel right, no. So it's good that they left it ambiguous, open-ended, yeah.
Totally. One thing I wanted to ask you before we get to the next scene was, I can't recall any specific scenes in episodes, but Larry being Larry in the show, obviously being famous in LA, he gets a lot of people saying, that they love Seinfeld, and he sometimes uses the fact that he's the creator of Seinfeld to his advantage, to try and skip a line or get a reservation at a restaurant, or, he tries to leverage that occasionally. But he's not often very friendly when people say that they're fans. He's not rude, but he's usually a bit dismissive and just sort of polite enough. But in this, he was really stoked that Rick told him how much of a fan he was. I just thought it was interesting that he reacted differently to, a total stranger expressing his love for the show,
Well, I think you made a good point at the start of the episode where Rick has a charming personality, so maybe the charm rubbed off on him. But yeah, you're right. I think Larry gets that all the time. He's like, oh, I love Seinfeld. He's like, oh, cool. You're like the 5 millionth person who's told me this.
Yeah, like he's never,
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he's never dismissive of people who said that they love the show. Like he's always got a basic level of politeness, but he's never enthusiastic about it. Whereas with Rick, he's really, really stoked. But yeah, I guess it just comes down to Rick being, just having that extra level of charm that most people don't.
Yeah, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Back at home, Cheryl is preparing food for the Seder for tomorrow night, as Larry is complimenting her for her Jewish cuisine, and she says, "Imagine if my mother could see this." And I love when Cheryl's like, "If my mother saw this, she'd, get upset."
Yeah, I think I was going to say, like Cheryl, I can't remember where she comes from specifically. Is it somewhere? Is it like Texas or?
I thought it was Florida or something.
Florida. Oh yeah, no, it is Florida.
Oh no. Yeah, I think it might have been Florida. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's like WASP. She comes from like a WASP background.
Yeah, like a southern WASP background though, not like a northeast WASP.
No, not like Boston or anything.
No. But I think it really says a lot when she's making that. I think she's talking about the drink that she's making, like the Jewish drink. I can't remember what it's called, but she says, "Oh, it's really similar to ambrosia." And I know ambrosia is a traditional old school kind of southern. I guess it's like a punch or something. I'm not exactly sure.
With like some fruit and jellies and all
that.
Yeah.
I think it's
very
like,
70s. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So I thought the fact that she, when she mentioned that her mother would be very upset, and the fact that it's like ambrosia, I think that is very telling of, I guess, her cultural background.
Yeah. The southern wasp, southern wasp charm.
Yeah, and sort of an implied anti-Semitism streak in her parents.
Yeah. Anything like against the grain is not good.
No,
it's like very, very orthodox. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost.
Yeah.
She says that a couple of friends of theirs, Mark and Marla, got back together and that they're coming tomorrow to the Cedar. Larry says that Mark was about to be gifted a New York Times subscription from Larry, I should say, before he broke up with Marla. And he had the subscription and realized not to worry about gifting it to him as they broke up. And Cheryl's like, "Why did you do that? You should have just gifted him the thing." And then Larry says something on the lines of, "But they were breaking up anyway. Well, what was the point?"
Yeah, I kind of understand that in a way. Like, if you're not going to see this, if you're not going to see this person again because they broke up, then a gift seems less important.
Yeah. I guess because they're Cheryl's friends. So.
Yeah, totally. I think if I was in Larry's situation, if I'd already gotten them the gift, I would probably still give it. But if I was planning to get someone a gift and then they broke up and I hadn't actually bought it yet, I'd probably just abandon it, But if I'd actually bought the gift, I'd say, well, I've already bought it. I've already paid for it. I'll give it now anyway.
You might as well give it to him, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. I think the fact that Larry already had the subscription and then they broke up, he's just like, oh, no, it's fine.
Yeah, if it was just something he was going to do, but he hadn't done it yet, and then he was like, well, there's no point now because we're never going to see him again, most likely, then I would get it. But the fact that he had it but still didn't give it to him, I can understand why Cheryl's a bit miffed about it.
Yeah. It's a shit move.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, Larry doesn't need it. He's already got a newspaper subscription.
And exactly. And Larry, speaking of newspaper subscriptions, he goes all paranoid and he thinks that Mark may have taken the newspapers at the front of their house, which are going missing every day. And that moving back in with Marla could be linked with the papers as he moved back in with her around the same time that the papers began to go missing. So he's starting with the conspiracies.
Yeah, look, as far as Larry's conspiracies go, it's fairly sound. It's not the biggest not the biggest leap to make. Some of his conspiracy theories and his paranoid ideas are a bit outlandish or a bit of a stretch, but this one's not. Obviously it's still unfounded at this point, but I don't think it was the biggest leap in logic.
No, it makes sense. And Mark found out that he wasn't going to get given the subscription. I could imagine Larry who probably talked to him saying, look, I got the subscription, but you're not with Marla, so I can't give it to you. And Mark's like, what? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah,
what are you talking about? So he's kind of it makes sense that Mark has a bit of a motive to take Larry's papers. It's kind of like a vendetta.
Yeah, as far as Larry's conspiracies go, I think it has more legs than most.
Actually, I have a theory about that. When we get to the final scene, I'll tell you my theory about Mark and the papers. It's not as clear cut as it's revealed to be at the end. But anyway, when we get there, Larry suggests that to invite Ethel and Mac, the neighbors across the road, to the Cedar, and Cheryl says that Larry doesn't like them, so why would they invite? Why would he invite Ethel and Mac to the Cedar? And he's like, oh, they need somewhere to be, places to go, so why not? Let's bring him in.
Yeah, Larry's just
very inclusive.
Yeah, but it's kind of just Larry's just gathering all the odds and ends of the neighborhood and bringing them together. Like, oh well, they've got nowhere else to be. That'll do. It's not like an enthusiastic, come on over and it'll be great. It's more just like, well, why not? It's sort of like, his attitude is, well, I may as well.
Yeah, may as well. Well, he's certainly going to have all the interesting people at the party.
Yeah.
The Cedar, isn't he?
Maybe he, maybe for him it's like, I'll invite all these random people over and, maybe something will happen, just as a bit of entertainment.
Bit of entertainment, but yeah. Or maybe like Larry can be quite hospitable when he wants to be. So maybe he notices like weirdos or people who are a bit odd and thinks, oh, they probably need somewhere to come for the night. So, for dinner. So let's bring him over.
Yeah, Larry's definitely more generous than normal in this episode and a lot more open-minded and just a lot more pleasant. He just seems a lot more like easygoing and sort of happy-go-lucky in this episode.
Yeah, he even invites a sex offender.
Yeah.
That's how happy-go-lucky he feels.
Yeah, he just seems a bit more relaxed and easygoing in this episode. It's he's not as like tense or paranoid or just grumpy. He's just he's just obviously he must have had like a good week or something leading up to this few days that this episode covers, because he's just he seems to have a spring in his step that he normally doesn't.
Yeah, and the only issue that he has at this point is the fact that his papers are going missing. So that's not like it's a shitty thing, but it's not like a life-changing event. So yeah, he's definitely had a really good week, and it's a nice, refreshing change to see Larry more lighthearted. And even like later in the episode, he mocks people at the Cedar and kind of teases them a bit and stuff. So yeah, it's good. He's not like all angry and fiery like he normally is.
Yeah, the world isn't shitting on Larry in this episode. It's just a couple of little inconveniences like a missing paper, but normally it's way worse for him.
Oh yeah, a lot worse. So it's a nice change to the norm.
Yeah, like he's still got a little challenge to overcome or a little problem to solve, but it's not it's not going to jeopardize a friendship or make someone feel absolutely horrible, or the stakes are pretty low for him in this one.
Yeah, which is good. It's actually the other people that are all being silly.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned a few times that the occasional episode where Larry tends to come out on top, he tends to have more wins than losses, can be a nice change of pace, and I feel like this episode is one of those ones.
Yeah, certainly needed it.
Yeah, totally.
Larry is carrying groceries to his car as Rick turns up. Rick just happens to be there. It's I love in Curb how randoms just turn up in the most odd places.
Yeah.
It's like in a car park. Rick just turns up. It's like, that's been done many times on Curb. It's like a person that's been in a previous scene happens to be in the same area.
Yeah, totally. I'm instantly reminded of, again, I can't remember the title of the episode, but where Wanda shows up 2 or 3 times and Larry's caught out it's implied that he's being racist, even though he's not. And she just happens to wander into the situation, or just after it happens. I think at least 2, maybe 3 times in that episode.
Twice.
Yeah,
Wanda does wander in. I see what you did there.
Exactly. Yeah. Once with the valet, where he mistakes the African American man as the valet, and then I think. Oh yeah, when
He
when
goes
the
to lock his car when the
yeah
black man walks
yeah
past.
and both times
So it looks like he's going to steal the car, but he's not.
yeah and
Obviously.
both times Wanda just rocks up and it's inconvenient for Larry or unfortunate for Larry.
Yeah, he's in a bad spot.
Exactly.
And he wonders why Wanda is like that.
Yeah.
Larry says to Rick that he didn't get a shopping cart as he had to go down a hill to get to the car, and he's worried for insurance and stuff. He might accidentally let go of the trolley and hit someone's car, and especially at his age. By that stage, he's like in his late 50s, early 60s, so he's not as spry as he used to be. So maybe he has to be a bit careful. So he carries the grocery bags under his arms, walking to the car.
Yeah, being extra careful, sometimes a good thing.
Indeed. Rick spots a golf club in Larry's trunk. Rick says that he loves golf. And Larry's like, oh, you play golf? He goes, it's just like, what does he say? It's like drinking water or breathing air. He goes, I breathe air or I drink water and I play golf.
Yeah.
It's just basically like a part of him.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you play golf, do you? And he goes, yeah, and I also drink water and breathe. And they have a bit of a chuckle. It's like a nice little, it's like a nice little bonding moment between them. And then, then to like add the cherry on top of the joke, he's like, in that order too. And they're like, oh, ha, 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 ha. Yeah. It's actually kind of sweet and cute that they're just bonding over this like wholesome little joke about how much they love golf.
Yeah. It's kind of like the chums that they would never were.
Yeah, it's just, I think even Cheryl says a bit later, I mean, talk about it in the next scene, but she actually says it's cute that you made a little friend. So Larry just seems really, I don't know, he's just like, I really like this guy and I want to be his friend. It's kind of, it's got this sweet, obviously he's a sex offender, so it's not entirely.
Yeah, well, obviously at the time when Cheryl says it, she doesn't know that he's a sex offender.
No, but it's just, if you take the sex offender aspect out of it, just the instant bond and just how easygoing they are with each other and how much they like each other is just kind of sweet for Curb.
Yeah, for Curb, yeah. Larry actually has almost like a genuine friend.
Yeah, and it's not.
I mean, Jeff and Richard are his friends too, but they give each other shit.
Yeah, but there's a lot of complications there and a lot of like bullshit and a lot of drama, whereas this so far is just very easy, except for the sex offender part.
No, definitely not. Rick says that he loves golf and he offers to help Larry with his golf swing as he has a sex dungeon in his yard. An elaborate golfing setup in his yard. Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, no, he actually has a driving range thing set up in his yard. It's quite elaborate. In the next scene, we see it. He asks if Larry would like to go over now to check it out, and Larry accepts and reluctantly allows Rick to get in his car, as Rick doesn't drive. So Larry's like, all right, how are we going to get there? And Rick's like, oh, I don't have a car. And Larry's kind of like, oh, I got to drop him home. Okay, that's a bit annoying.
Yeah, and Larry's also confused as to, well, how did you get here? Like, are you following? I've kind of got the idea that maybe Larry thought, like, did you follow me over because you're a fan of Seinfeld? Like what he's just puzzled as to how he would have ran into him without a car, because they were it's not like they were 2 blocks away from the house. They were 10, 15 minutes, I guess, away. Larry's just a bit what this puzzled.
Episode tries... Oh, Larry's a bit puzzled, yeah. Yeah, I think this episode's trying to set up, like, Larry to be like a victim. Like, I think the idea of the writing, I'm not too sure, but it feels like that Larry's meant to be like the groomed one. So like Rick's saying, oh, I love Seinfeld. Oh, I like golf too. I actually have a golf thing in my yard. Do you want to come over? Like, I won't go into too much detail about sex offenders, but they kind of use things that the victim likes to kind of lure them in. And I think the fact that Larry thinks I'm going to be in a car with a sex offender on my own, that's a bit sus. He's probably a bit worried.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, that's obviously what they're going for. That he's slowly like drawing him in just by being nice and oh, I like that too. Yeah, let's go hang out at my place. But I mean, yeah, Larry's being groomed. He also wants to go along with it, and he's also aware. It's not like he's a he's a 60-year-old man. He's not like an innocent child or like a clueless person. He knows what's going on, but he's just like, well, this guy seems nice and he likes golf, so I'll go along with this.
Yeah. Even Larry has his hesitations at times. He's thinking, well, should I put him in my car? It's like, even he's a bit reluctant, and then he accepts eventually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think his desire to play golf in a backyard, overrides his reluctance.
Yes, it does. Larry is at Rick's house trying out his setup, and he does a good driving like swing with golf, and he celebrates. I don't know what it's called. I don't play golf. Larry watches back on the video of the swing. Oh, I forgot to mention that Rick likes to take videos.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. As soon as I saw that, he's like, oh, I like to record it too. And I'm like, oh. I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I was like, shit.
Rick.
He kind of it's probably referencing like what he actually kind of
Yeah.
did to
Yeah.
get charged and go to jail. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, as soon as I saw the camera, I was just like, I actually gasped. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
It's like you lure people to your house and you videotape them doing
Yeah.
it.
It's a very thinly veiled reference to what's really going on.
Indeed, and what he may have done in his past.
Yeah.
Anyway, Larry gets his sweater to leave as Rick asks what he is doing for Passover. Larry thinks for a bit and offers to invite Rick to the Seder. Rick declines at first, but then accepts as Larry walks off. And Larry, again, like I mentioned, Larry, like he did before, Larry walks off and he's kind of thinking, is this the right thing to do? Like as he walks off, you can kind of see him like thinking. He's like, is this a good idea to invite him? I'm not sure. But he offers. Rick at first says no, but then he says yes, basically right away. So, yeah. So that Rick is the spanner that gets thrown in. So that'll be he's almost like a spanner in the works.
Yeah, totally.
He's a cat amongst the pigeons, I should say. He just gets thrown straight in.
Yeah, totally. And I think Larry knows.
Hell breaks loose.
Yeah, and I think Larry knows that obviously it's going to be controversial and it's going to make everyone there uncomfortable. But I don't know, it's almost like that's why I think maybe Larry is just saying, even though he seems to genuinely like Rick and he seems to also genuinely want to include Rick because Rick doesn't have any other place to go. It seems like he's being invited out of like a genuine, Larry wants him to be there. But there's also, I'm sensing this like Larry is also doing it just for like some weird entertainment. Like I want to bring this sex offender over to it, like, my family and friends just to see, just to fuck with people or just as like a form of weird entertainment, just to be like an observer to, the chaos that may or may not ensue. Because he,
of it that way.
Yeah. I mean, like that might be totally off and he doesn't say or do anything specifically to do that. But I thought, well, like, why else would he do it? Like Larry knows that this is obviously going to be a controversial thing. Like, and Larry can be a bit twisted from time to time. So
I just think he's just off in his own world.
Yeah.
He doesn't even realize the consequences of bringing a sex offender, especially because there's going to be a few children there as well.
Yeah.
So I think he just doesn't read the room.
I think even for Larry, like bringing a sex offender over to a sacred holiday full of children and family, like I don't think even that situation would escape Larry's lack of awareness, like that.
But is he that dark? Is he that sinister? He'd bring a sex offender?
Well, I mean, I don't think he would do it. I don't think he thinks that it's putting anyone in actual danger. Like, I think it's more just, I'm just going to take this person and throw him into this like wholesome tradition, this situation. Look, maybe it is a bit too dark.
I never thought of it that way.
Maybe it is a bit too dark. I don't know, but it's just something that crossed my mind.
Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty bad even for Larry David. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I
don't know, but that's an interesting theory. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's what they were trying to go for. I just feel like the fact is that Larry, like I said, Larry is like the victim of sorts, like the groomie, and he's just kind of he's kind of fallen for Rick's charms, and the fact, even though he's thinking to himself, oh, he's a sex offender, I better not. I might invite him anyway, not because he's a sex offender, but because he's actually a really nice guy. That's really all it is. Doesn't matter what he did in his past. That's the way I saw it. I'm sure your theory stands up too, but I'm just thinking, like, could Larry be like that? Oh, could he like really throw a cat amongst the pigeons? It's like, ooh, I don't know. I think even for Larry, that's a bit too much.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, no, you've talked me out of that theory. It's just too twisted even for Larry to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. But I love when we like doing this podcast. We like just neurons fire in our brains and we come up with ideas on the spot. It's good. It's good to just put it out there. But yeah, totally. I have to disagree with your theory on that one.
No, that's fair.
I agree with a lot of what you say, but not in this case.
Yeah, no, I disagree with myself, so it's fine.
Okay, you've cancelled yourself. Good.
I have.
Cancelled. That's it.
I'm
it's going to be a one-man Cobcast show.
I'm uncancelable. You have to have an audience to be cancelled.
At the Cedar, the following night, the crowd are chatting and having a good time. There's probably about 10 people. Like, it's not a huge thing, but it's a few people and kids and stuff as well. It's it's a nice gathering.
10 to 15 people, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I thought it was going to be like a big soiree or something, but no, not in the slightest. It's nice and intimate. Larry is talking to Jacob, who is Jeff's conservative brother-in-law. I actually like Jacob. And he says that he has a theory that every 77 years, America has a good president.
Yeah.
It was like, first, what was it? Abraham Lincoln. And then 77 years later was Franklin.
It was George Washington, then Lincoln, and then FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and then now George W. And he's like, George Bush, we're turning the world around. And I'm like, oh, I think history is going to disprove your George Bush great president 70.
Well, I mean, he was certainly involved with changing the world.
That's true.
And,
Yeah,
changing parts of the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially in the Middle East. He
Yeah.
certainly was a part of that.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Actually, he's heavily involved in the reconstruction, or the engineering of a lot of buildings. Yeah, but I guess being a Republican or being a conservative, it makes sense that Rick is a sorry, not Rick.
Not Rick, no, not quite. No, Jacob.
Jacob, sorry, is a fan of W.
Jacob, yeah. Jacob isn't as sinister as Rick. He's
No.
I mean, a bit of a dick, but he's not like a sex offender. So
Oh, no.
And yeah, another reference to George Bush, Steve. We did, like I said, we did see an opening night with Katie Huffman. She had a picture of George Bush on her nightstand or her makeup stand in the theater. So yeah, another reference to George Bush.
Yeah, it really it really dates the episode. It puts it in a certain time that George Bush was. When was this? 2005. So he was.
This episode came out in 2005. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was like this is
year.
during George's second term. Yeah.
Yeah, like first year of his second term, halfway through his full run as president. Sort of at the height of his power, I guess, and the height of American power at this time. It really puts you in a certain time and place.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's very very dated, and we'll probably be watching these in like 40 years' time, thinking, "Wow, George Bush, that's like talking about JFK or Lyndon Johnson or something,
just a
or
memory."
Jimmy Carter." It's like, whoa, okay, cool,
Yep.
like really old.
Yeah.
So the fact that he says that every 77 years, yeah, George W. Bush is the next best great hope of America, and Larry's kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I love how Larry uses the hand motion to Jeff to indicate that Jacob's a bit iffy, like the so-so.
Yeah. They look at each other like, oh, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah, it's a bit iffy, iffy. And Larry does the hand signal to Jeff as Jacob walks off, and Jeff does the same thing. Larry talks to Dr. Mark, and he says that he's happy that he is back with Marla. Larry asks if Mark gets aroused at naked women, as he is a cosmetic surgeon, and Mark says no, as that is very unprofessional, and that's not an appropriate comment. He says that the comment is very inappropriate, and he goes, yes, even though I do see many naked women, that thought never crossed my mind, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, it's all clinical. It's all professional.
Clinical. Of course. Larry asks Mark as well if he's been stealing the newspaper, and Mark says that's another inappropriate question, and he gets mildly offended. And Larry gives him his trademark stare down for about 30 seconds. And Mark returns the favor, and then Larry says, after 30 seconds, okay, and then walks off.
Yeah, he's not convinced, but he's happy to leave it at that for now. And Mark also, he says, like, as a doctor, I think he mentions that he's a doctor twice. He's like, I'm a doctor, I wouldn't do that. I think he thinks that, being a doctor is a highly esteemed job, but I think he gets a lot of self-confidence from that. I wouldn't do that. I'm a doctor.
Yeah, I'm a doctor. I hold myself in high regard.
Yeah, I'm above that. I wouldn't steal newspapers.
But like I said, I have a theory at the end of the episode, which I'll run by you, and you tell me what you think
right.
about Mark. He's not all that it's cracked up to be, I'm afraid, in my opinion. Jeff asks Larry what he thinks of Jacob, and Susie comes up as well, and he agrees with Jeff that he is a piece of work. Larry answers the door, and Rick arrives with Jewish food. I forgot the name of the cuisine. As the crowd look on in shock, because obviously everyone has seen the flyer with his mug on it and his name. So everyone knows who Rick is and what he is. Well, what kind of crimes he has done in the past. Larry compliments Rick for helping change his life, as in with his golf swing, as he introduces Rick to other people. So he's meeting certain people, and I love how he meets Jeff and Susie's clutching Sammy, their daughter.
Yeah.
He's like just holding on to her, and he won't even like shake her hand or anything. She won't even shake his hand or anything. She's like, nice to meet you. That's fine.
Yeah, like Susie is, I think we've agreed in the past that she's a bit overprotective of Sammy. But in this case...
She's a helicopter parent, yeah.
Yeah, but in this case, it's perfectly fine.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, of course. Yeah. If you knew the details of what he did, yeah, you do the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd clutch the next child, a child next to me if I saw a sex offender walk in the room. Even if it wasn't my kid, I'd be like, oh, leave him alone. Don't touch him.
Got to protect the kids.
Mm-hmm. Somebody think of the children, as Reverend Lovejoy's wife once said.
Helen Lovejoy.
Helen, that's right. Would somebody think of the children? Classic line. Susie grabs Larry as Rick is meeting other people with children, and he asks why he brought Rick to the Seder. Larry defends him, and he says he's a very good guy. The doorbell rings again, and it's the neighbours Ethel and Mac from before, and they turn up. Mac complains about all the people parking in his driveway, and Larry says he'll get people to move, but then he says to them, "You just walked across the road. You're not driving anywhere, are you?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "That's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll get people to move later." And then Mac comes around. Larry asks Ethel, because apparently she's pretty good with faces, if she recognizes anyone in the room. And as she looks around, she looks at Rick and goes into shock and faints. So she remembers that flyer.
Tell me if you think this is an appropriate question, huh? And I mean no disrespect. Have you been stealing my newspaper?
Larry. Yes, that is an inappropriate question.
So that's two inappropriate questions. But
I have not been stealing your newspaper, Larry. That's appalling.
Really?
Yeah, really, Larry.
Some of the guys are carrying Ethel into a spare bedroom and they put her on the bed as Mark checks her pulse. Max says that this happens sometimes and she'll be out for a couple of hours and not to worry too much about it. As everyone else leaves, Larry stays to try and wake her up by clapping and doing a few other things with no success. Nothing at all.
Yeah, I think, he wants her to stay passed out so that she doesn't cause any ruckus downstairs. So he's just like double checking that she's not faking it. Yeah, I think. Oh
no, not just that as well. Like on top of that as well. No, Larry wants her awake because she's good with faces and she's seen the guy who's stolen the newspapers. So you know how Larry suspects Mark stole the papers. So all Ethel needs to do is look at his face and go, "Yeah, that's the guy." So that's why he's like wake. Oh, no, in addition to that as well, he wants her awake. Yeah, so she can recognize it. And probably in 2 hours, by the time she wakes up, the party will be over. So
true.
He's got a small window of opportunity to get this done.
No, that's true. Yeah, I'm all over the shop in this episode, aren't I?
Oh, well, you've been very busy, my friend, with some stuff in your life, so that's perfectly fine. The Seder are reciting Jewish passages, and they have a toast to celebrate. Larry says that he's hiding a matzah. I didn't Google what that was.
Matzah. It's a Jewish dessert. Matzah balls.
Oh, matzah balls. Oh, yeah, I've heard of matzah balls. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Larry says that he's going to be hiding matzah balls for the kids to go find, and if they find them, he'll give each one $1 note. Larry goes to hide them around the house. He goes to the hallway and he's putting them into like a drawer, like a dresser in the hallway. Jacob walks out of the guest bathroom. He looks at Larry and he stares him down for a little bit for about 10 seconds as he walks off. Larry says to the children they can go find the matzah balls. Larry goes back on the table and Mac just says casually or asks Larry if he found the guy who's stealing his newspapers, and Larry explains what happens. Mark begins coughing as Mac says that Ethel, when she wakes up, will recognize the thief when she sees him next time because of her photographic memory. So we see here, it's not confirmed, but we see here that Mark, he hears that someone's stealing Larry's papers, and Larry thinks he's the prime suspect, and you think that Mark is probably the one that did it. He starts coughing after hearing it.
Yeah, it's
guilty.
I guess it's implied, or it's indicated that he's got a guilty conscience.
Yeah, he does. Yes, and he's feeling guilty, even though he's supposedly all high and mighty. He doesn't want to admit that he'll do something as low as stealing someone's paper.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be outed and be embarrassed in front of everyone, because everyone seems to hold him in the same esteem that he holds himself in. So yeah, I think he's doing anything he can to, the last thing he would want is to be identified as the newspaper thief.
Yeah, someone so highly esteemed doing something so lowly, that wouldn't be good for your rep. Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Larry gets the children out of the room that Ethel is in as he is trying to wake her up so she can confirm that Mark is the thief. And once again, no success. He even tries using Jamaican drums or African drums. He just happens to have like these random tribal drums in his room.
Yeah,
it's what the hell?
It's weird.
Yeah, it was just odd. It's okay, cool. He's trying everything with no success. Larry goes downstairs and says Ethel should come around soon, and Max asks why he's making so much noise up there. Mark checks his pager and says he has to go to the hospital due to an emergency, and Larry says he didn't hear his pager. As Mark is about to leave, he's like, "Oh no, I have it on silent." You can't hear it. One of the kids finds a matzah ball, and that's one of Jacob's children, his son. And Larry goes to talk to Mark, who is at the front door. Larry says that he doesn't believe Mark, and he accuses him of stealing his paper and tries to probe him for it, as Mark says he has emergency surgery to do, and he walks out. As Larry's about to go back to the dining room, Rick goes to talk to Larry, and he says that he has a moral quandary. Rick says that, and you think that maybe Rick is admitting he's he's going to admit to like he's got urges, or maybe being around children makes him a bit weird. You think maybe it's that kind of thing, and you think, oh, okay, maybe he's going to do the right thing and just walk out the door, which is probably the best thing to do. No. The quandary is that he saw Jacob's father tell him where the matzah was. And Larry says that this makes sense as he saw Jacob come out of the bathroom where he put the matzah, and he saw where Larry put it away. So there you go. So at first we think that, Rick maybe is atoning, or he's thinking he better get out so nothing complicated happens. But no, his quandary is he saw Jacob tell his son where it is.
Yeah, the way it's set up is that, you think he's going to confess to some, horrible situation or thought or urge or something. But it's something, I mean, even though, it's serious enough that, it's relevant to what's going on, but it's not a big confession that you think it's going to happen, that you think it's going to be.
But I love how it's like a big build up, and then even Larry's like, oh shit, what's he going to say?
Yeah, because
and even as the audience, we're watching him, we're like, oh my god, what's he going to say?
Yeah,
but even then, I think even that would be too dark. Like if he said something like that.
Totally, yeah. And Larry, and that, because that gets a bit too specific. They've got to keep it very vague about what crimes is committed. Larry actually says, like, I'm not the right person to talk. You need to talk to a therapist. Like, so Larry's even expecting him to confess, or admit something about relevant to his past.
Yes, or something that he's feeling in this moment, which is not right.
No.
Yeah, but it's good that it's something that it's not like it's a shitty thing, but it's not something that's really, really bad.
No, it's just someone cheated and got a dollar when they shouldn't have. Not the worst thing.
Mm-hmm. No. The boy, Jacob's son, asked Larry for the dollar. Larry probes him about how he found the matzah ball after one look. And he said, I didn't see you go to any other rooms. You just walked straight to the dresser and you found it. And Jacob defends him. Larry accuses Jacob of telling him where the matzah ball is. And Larry says that Rick told him about the situation. And then Jacob retorts saying that he is a sex offender. And the table erupts. Sammy, Susie and Jeff's daughter, begins to choke on some food, and Susie goes around saying, does anyone know CPR? And Rick offers to help with mouth-to-mouth resuscitation as they all look at him. He's like, I know mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Yeah.
And they're all like, no. So it's implied that Sammy got the food out somehow, probably not from Rick, probably someone else gave her the Heimlich maneuver or something and got it out. Yeah, we don't see it, but it's funny. It's like, I know mouth-to-mouth, and everyone's just like, oh, yuck. Thanks.
No thanks.
I'm good, bro. Sammy's like, I'd rather choke, thanks.
Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah.
I'm fine. I'll go blue and die before. I
exactly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
In the final scene, the next morning, Larry finds his newspaper out the front, and it's revealed. I don't remember if it was the front cover or the back cover. It's revealed on one of the covers, one of the ends, that a doctor left a Seder in LA to perform emergency surgery to attach a hand, and it was implied to be Mark. And I guess before we re-rank the episode, Steve, or rate it, I have a theory that Mark did actually steal the papers. You know why?
What's that?
So what happened was he moved, like we mentioned before, he moved back in with Marla around the same time Larry's papers got stolen. He knew he was getting a New York Times subscription, which probably back in the day would have been quite expensive. It would have been probably a really nice item to have. It would have been, I don't know how much it was back then, but I'd imagine New York Times, a highly regarded, highly esteemed newspaper, not just in the US, but in the world. Getting a subscription there would have been quite a bit, especially transporting the newspaper from New York to LA would cost quite a bit too. So the fact you get a subscription, a physical subscription like that would be quite an honor. I get the feeling that Mark had been doing it, and I think because he had to leave late to do the emergency hand surgery, and I feel like the surgery probably took hours, probably all night. It was probably one of those really serious ones. It could have been like a workplace accident or a car crash or something would have happened where the victim's hand came off. And I think that maybe the surgery probably went into the early morning or something. And on that particular day, I think Mark was probably too tired to go pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that all tracks, I think.
Because we see Mark how guilty he is when Larry mentions it.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's never officially confirmed whether he did or did not steal the paper, all the way through the episode, I thought he did. And I just thought that, when we find out that he did actually have to go and perform surgery, I thought that was just a convenient coincidence for it. That he needed an out. He was like, oh my God, when Ethel wakes up, she's going to out me and it's going to be really embarrassing. And then just purely out of good luck for him, the page came through. So, I don't think the story in the paper absolves him of being the person from, I don't think it proves his innocence. I think he was stealing the paper anyway, and it was just a convenient coincidence. Yeah. And whether he was too tired or whether he thought, if the surgery went all the way through the night,
he was going to get outed.
He was going to get outed. Or maybe he just thought, well, I've basically been caught, maybe I should just stop it anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
or
and that's
stop for at least for a little while, and then
yeah,
go back.
you know, just while the heat's while the heat dies down, and then I'll go back to stealing it in a week or so. Yeah,
because I think it would have been really stupid. Yeah, I think it would have been really stupid if like Mark looked all guilty, and then suddenly with one headline or one article in the paper he's innocent. It's like, nah, that's silly.
Yeah,
it's implied that he did it. He did it.
Yeah, I think the surgery, even though it's at the start. Sorry, not at the start, but when the page comes through, you believe as a viewer that, well, obviously he's just making it up because he doesn't want to get outed. Yeah, I just think it was a fortunate coincidence for him that it gave him an out before Ethel woke up. But yeah,
to do probably like a 6 to 8 hour surgery on a hand, maybe have to put it back on the arm, like attach it again or something really, really, really. That would probably take a long time to do.
Oh, totally, yeah.
It wouldn't be a small operation.
Yeah, and I think in his mind he was like, I need a reason to leave, and he was trying to cook up an excuse, and then all of a sudden his pager did go off, and he was like, "Oh, like I don't need to make something up. I've got a real reason now. What a relief! What a coincidence!" And then, totally, I thought he was guilty all the way through.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because I think you're right. I think that article didn't absolve him of it. I think you're right. Like he was trying to find a way out. He was shitting himself. He happened to get. Luckily, there was a patient who needed emergency surgery, and that was his way out. And Ethel, you're right. Ethel was out upstairs. And he was like, yep, I'm good. And then he either never stole the newspapers again, or maybe he cooled off for a couple of weeks and went back to do it.
Yeah, I think he realized he'd pushed his luck far enough. Like he's gonna get caught if he continues, so I'll just stop.
Yep, that's what it is. Yeah, perfect. Great. Yeah, I'm glad you agree.
Yeah, totally. I never thought he was innocent all the way through. Even when it wasn't officially, like a lot of Curb, a lot of the time the ending is open, or there's always a question lingering of like, did he or didn't he do whatever. But in this case, I think it's pretty clear cut.
Yep. And number one, yeah, he didn't want to get, he's already got heat on him. He doesn't want any more heat, so he didn't get the paper. And like I said, I think the operation probably went into like the night, even in the early morning, and he's too wrecked. He's been doing surgery for like 6 hours or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck. I was going to sleep.
He came home at like 4:30 a.m. and he just crashed and didn't. He either slept through his alarm or just thought, it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's right. Just for today. Excellent. I love when we cook up theories like this. It's awesome.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Anyway, that was the Seder. I enjoyed this episode, man. Probably one of my favorites so far this season. 4 out of 5. 4 Larrys out of 5.
Okay.
What about you, bud?
I'll give it 3.5. So okay. Cool. I think I said at the top of the episode that the first watch I thought it was just okay, but upon my second watch I enjoyed it a lot more. Obviously not as much as you, but I thought it was a pretty solid episode. I liked how they worked in a registered sex offender, but they didn't make it too grimy and too like just gross. It was all implication and it was vague enough to not be like unsavory and just like, oh, it didn't. I mean,
Curb is a HBO show, but not that kind of HBO
show. No. I mean, sometimes, a lot of the time Curb, deals in some pretty controversial topics and topics that can leave bad taste in people's mouth. But I've never watched an episode of Curb and felt gross at the end and gone, oh, I need a bath. I need a shower. And I think, all throughout our podcast, we've mentioned that if they got too specific with Rick's crimes, I think that's the feeling you would get at the end. You'd be like, oh, it was too detailed. There was too much information.
The fact that you're watching like a reenactment of a true crime.
Yeah. It was just too, and the fact that they were kind of general about it and, it was left to your own interpretations to a certain extent. They got all the way up to the line and then they just skirted that line. They never crossed over it to like gross, like, oh, just too much. It was never too much.
No, it wasn't. I found the funniest part to be when Larry was like a 60-year-old man, but he was like getting semi-groomed by him with things that he enjoyed. It's like, oh my God. And then, and the cherry on top was like the camera in the backyard. I'm like, oh, jeez. I was just like shaking my head.
Yeah.
He just takes videos of Larry.
Yeah. Larry was the sort of innocent, naive person in this, and he got charmed into Rick's web.
Yes, to go into his backyard with a camera.
Yeah, he got charmed into Rick's golf net.
Oh yes, and more. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it was well written in most parts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, solid episode for sure.
Solid indeed. Yeah. Anyway, that was Curbcast. Thank you very much for listening. Really appreciate it. We are down to our last 3 episodes of season 5, and season 6 will be coming up in the next few weeks, which is really, really exciting. You can follow us on social media at CurbcastPod. We also have an email address if you want to talk about the show, this episode, or anything about Seinfeld or anything else of that ilk, TV, whatever. CurbcastPod@gmail.com. mishmashmedia.com, and you can find us on any podcast service, Apple, Spotify, Google, whatever new ones have popped up. I'm not sure. Whatever, wherever you can do it, and wherever you can rate or review us, that would be fantastic. A 5-star review would help with the algorithms and help us go up on the charts for Curb Your Enthusiasm podcasts. And Stephen, you can support us financially.
That's right. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/mishmashmedia. For as little as $1 US a month, you can support us in our fledgling podcast network, Mishmash Media. We don't have any bonus content for now, but that is something we're working on and we will be bringing to you at some point in the near future.
Yes, we've had lots of things in our personal lives, lots of changes and stuff that's happened. So it's been a bit difficult trying to get that stuff for you, but we promise we will get you something eventually. That's why we're only asking, only if you want to, for $1 US a month, just to help keep the lights on at Mishmash Media.
Yeah, that's right. We think it'd be a bit unfair to ask for more than that and not give you anything in return.
Exactly. My name's Ivan.
I'm Stephen.
We'll see you next week for episode 8, The Ski Lift, another episode that I enjoyed a lot as well. You take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks for listening. This podcast is part of Mishmash Media, an independent podcast network. Follow us on social media at Mishmash Media AU or support us on Patreon. All those links are in the show notes.